let's do a mini business course on it just to kind of let it flow. What are 3 things that companies are going to get, or why they need your services?
Yeah, the first thing that you're going to see is a clear, guided direction on how to spend advertising dollars. So Pentane takes in a P&L, a most recent P&L. It applies a bunch of math, uses AI to go and do all sorts of interesting things with the line items inside the P&L. And then the first part of the system will tell you exactly how many ad dollars you need to be spending and at what return on ad spend in order to accomplish your goal. So if it's break even, it will show you in a chart that increases as you go down. As your revenue increases, it will show you how your return on ad spend or marketing efficiency decreases. They're inversely correlated 100% of the time, every business on the planet. So it will show you for your company in your financial situation, how those numbers work. So you can define ad budgets without emotion and gut feel, which is how 99% of early stage businesses have to do it, because it's just the information that they have.
There's a statement that I love, that if you don't bring data to the meeting, people just use their own opinion. And that's what you're talking about. It's bringing quantitative data that somebody can actually make a decision. One of the things I see, Adam, as a business coach, is people have a really, really hard time making a decision or have a hard time extracting what data they need to use to actually make a decision. It sounds like yours helps them get further down the road.
Yeah, it's all about removing the emotion and the personal opinion from the decision-making process.
Yeah.
There is a place for that. It's where you start. But the second you start getting data, you have to let the data answer the questions.
Yeah. Let me ask you this before we get to number 2. Layer in gut, intuition, and instincts with the data that you get. Sam Walton used to go to the diner with his data, have coffee and pie, go back to the boardroom and say, this is the data we're using, this is the data we're not. Is all data created equally, or like, how do you know that all the data is the data, or do you have to kind of use a little bit of gut with it as well?
Well, look, in a consumer, let's talk consumer for a second. In a early stage consumer business, a sub, again, $10, $20 million early stage consumer business, it is a massive puzzle. It's a puzzle with 1,000 pieces on it, but not all the pieces are created equal. Not all the pieces are of equal relevance or importance. Yeah. So clearly understanding which pieces are mission critical and which pieces are sort of nice leading indicators and which pieces are just complete vanity metrics, which is unfortunately what most people end up using, are the vanity metric KPIs, because it's what their marketing team has, because nobody has the mission critical data. And that literally is the point of the Pentane system.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about, I don't care about vanity metrics. And so I never really check about how many downloads or likes, because the only metric I care about is that my phone rings with new clients and that my phone keeps on ringing with repeat clients. That's really what, those are the metrics I care about. I was just telling somebody this about an hour ago. It's that's what matters. Do you want to, part of me wants to give back to the world and help as many people as I can, who can't afford coaching, who I may never be able to interact with. And then part of me wants my phone to ring. It's the perfect balance of conscious capitalism for me. But I don't care, if I get 1 million likes, but no calls, it means nothing.
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, it's irrelevant. All right. What's number 2?
Number 2, inside that system, you're going to see how you can add and subtract expenses from the business and see how that ad spend revenue ROAS matrix, how that changes. So if you need to hire somebody, add in $10,000, whatever the cost is for that person in a month, and you can see how much more revenue you need to drive and at what return on ad spend in order to actually pay for that person. You can do the opposite. You can reduce, if you're going to cut a person, lose an office, do these things, in early stage businesses that are really impactful. See how much easier it gets to get to break even or generate a 5 or 10% net margin. Yeah. So you get to use that kind of as your magic 8 ball.
Yeah. What I love about what you're talking about right now is a lot of businesses that I go into, they don't really have their arms wrapped around the cost of getting a client. Yeah. And then, to carry that, they don't have their arms wrapped around about what a client is worth and what the long-term value of a client is worth. It sounds like your program does kind of really helps them with that in a big, big way.
Yeah, it certainly starts to. I have a lot of aspirational things to build into this over time, which will absolutely get into LTV and CAC and LTV to CAC ratio, which is super important when
Yeah.
when you're looking at paying money to acquire customers.
Yeah.
That's how you de-risk that expense is
Yeah.
understanding the data and where it needs to be.
Yeah, I love it. All right, what's number 3?
Number 3 is you got a dashboard that shows you in real time what's happening in the business from a profitability standpoint. That's largely driven by contribution margin, which I know is a scary word for a lot of early stage operators, but that's all I tend to call them happy dollars. It is the answer to most questions. It is is it working or not working? Is our marketing agency doing their job or not doing their job? Should we launch into this new product line or not launch into this new product line? The answer to that is inside of contribution margin. So being able to see those metrics as they're happening, as opposed to when you get a P&L next month and you find out whether or not what you did was good these are all things that we did at BottleKeeper, which is how we got to where we got as efficiently as we did. We had really clear insight into what was happening in the business as it was happening.
You know, it's interesting. I feel like as I'm talking to you, we kind of talk the same language, and I feel like I'm talking as if I'm like an investor in your company because I resonate with so many things you're talking about. Because when you talk about real time, you know, so many companies, they don't think about things. I use the word, I don't know if you saw, but in the beginning it says real time coaching. That I do, and most people aren't thinking about things in real time, and many people are behind real time when it comes to certain things. The few are ahead of real time, and as we get better, I think people think about 10,000 hours, you can start to kind of get in real time or ahead of real time, hopefully. But most people, a lot of companies with nuanced things are behind real time, and they're having a hard time trying to figure out how to catch up to real time. And so it sounds like your product helps them get speed along that process.
Absolutely. Creating clarity around the complex. And I appreciate that it's complicated. I mean, we learned how to do this over years of operating, and we were in other businesses before that. And we have I have a heavy math and science background. So I understand the numbers really well, but I also appreciate that that's maybe atypical a little bit, particularly in the early stage world. So this is all about simplifying that complex data for an early stage founder so they can answer questions that are hard to answer, or frankly, they may not even know the questions to ask. Correct.
You're really reverse engineering for them, not only to go from the beginning, the questions, the mindset, the flow, and the path. From what I'm hearing is the path to real time, so they can make effective, productive decisions that they can quantify and really forecast their business. I mean, that's what business is all about. And so,
great. You said something in there that I'm probably going to borrow, forewarning, that is reverse engineering profitability. I mean, that is quite literally what it is. It's let's start at profitability and then step it back to where we need to be today in order to achieve that outcome, but do it in a way that's quantifiable, intentional, and we're not making decisions on hope and luck.
Yeah, I love it. It's great.